You're watching Team 17 News, your 24-hour news source. Live with Team 17's Jim Scott, Robin Mangarin, George Lindsay Young Weather, and Brad Hoffman Sports. Team 17 News at 5.
Well, where were you 25 years ago? The end of April of 1975 was the end of the final decade of one of the bloodiest wars in our nation's history.
Quite a time, actually, and the first of a special two-part report. Ron Lewis takes a look now at how the end of the Vietnam War affected one very special family.
The United States had been involved in Southeast Asia for more than 25 years, but on April 30th, 1975, it all came to an end. Our troops had been simply put on planes and brought home. But for one family with a Kern County connection, it wasn't nearly as simple as that. It became a harrowing escape from Saigon.
We became refugees.
Meet Sang Do. He's a retired administrator for the county of Los Angeles. He's having a few health problems. His wife, Tuet, tends her garden every day. They look like a typical California couple. "25 years ago, after more than 10 years of bloody combat, the Vietnam War was finally over. The troops had pulled out and Saigon was about to fall. But for Sang Do and his family, the terror had only just begun. 31-year-old Sang Do was in the U.S. doing graduate studies, but when the war ended, his wife and 2-year-old daughter were in the Vietnamese city of Bien Hoa.
For the last 2 weeks, from basically April 15, I could not study at all because I came here as a doctoral student. I cut all of the classes. I followed the news and I saw the news about the falling of South Vietnam from the central to Saigon. I tried to reach them at home, but I couldn't reach it through the telephone. They always said that the waiting period is for the whole week. The whole week at that time is the end of Saigon.
Tuet and her daughter were able to get to Saigon, but there they found chaos. Saigon had fallen, and the streets were filled with panic-stricken refugees, scrambling to leave before the communists took over.
Everybody was very scared, you know, and first, the government and everywhere looked like people just thinking they went out.
You could see the terror in their eyes, those refugees who knew that being left behind meant certain death. Those who were able to get inside the American Embassy compound waited desperately on the roof for helicopters to take them to freedom. Meanwhile, Sang Do was terrified. He had no idea what had happened to his wife and daughter.
Terrified that I'm going to lose them forever. And I really thought at that time I would never see them again.
Tuet and her daughter were able to get to the Tan Son Nhut Air Base, one of the few safe havens left. A California Marine saw those hours from a different perspective. Mike Yeater was 19 years old at the time. His job, to guard the fence around the airstrip.
They were human beings on either side of the fence. You know, they were afraid for their lives. You know, I didn't know what, I probably didn't even think about what, you know, future they had. It's just that, you know, the day before we were allies standing with them, and, you know, today we're saying adios, you know, good luck.
But thanks to 2 American Marines, Tuet and her daughter made it.
Mike and I went to airport. I still didn't thinking we will go out, you know. And when we sat on the plane, then I cried because I thought, oh, now we went out and we will find Saigon, parents, every people, you know.
They called me from Guam. My wife called me, and she had to wait in line for 100 of people that I called relatives in here. And I asked, you were out? She said, yes, I got out. With the baby? Where's the baby? Where's the baby? I kept on asking about my child. So, but it's terrific to hear from them, like a call from heaven.
Then came the end. How many of us can forget these images at the fallen U.S. Embassy?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it with all of this effort, blood and sweat that we built the South with the American people, American support. I couldn't believe it.
Sang-do was reunited with his wife and daughter and began a new life in Cleveland, Ohio, eventually becoming Californians, moving to Northridge near Los Angeles. And their little 2-year-old daughter, who we've been telling you about, who made that desperate dash to freedom with her mother 25 years ago, grew up to be part of our team here at 17 News. Producer and reporter, Mai Do.
What an amazing story.
Joining us now is Team 17's Mai Do. And my boy, when you look back over the video and your dad's comments, what were your memories of what was a terrifying time for adults, much less a child?
You know, I was so young. I was 2.5 at the time, and so it's hard to really figure out which ones are my memories and which ones are just sort of the conglomeration of memories from my parents, you know, and I've heard the story so many times throughout my life, you know, and every time it always gets me a little.
Of course it, of course it does.
How has this escape changed lives? I mean, obviously it changed your life.
Well, you know, it was just a little stroke of luck that my mother and I managed to get out. She happened to see some Marines when she went to go try to get help, and they recognized her the next day when she was at the airport.
Wow.
And so that's, you know, just by sheer luck, and it was just that tiny stroke of luck, or my life would have been totally different, you know, not knowing the same people that I know, and it's amazing.
And we're sure glad that you made it out, and we're sure
too.
glad that you are here with us. Thanks.
Boy, those are
Mike.
striking images that come back and haunt us all. So.
And of course, you can see Team 17's Mai Do various times, morning, afternoon, and night. She's here. Thanks a lot, Mai.
We'll take a break, and coming up next, it's hot today, of course. Don't get caught off guard, though. George is up next with the forecast for you.
And later in our parenting segment for you, do you have a child that perhaps snores and maybe is having a little trouble in school now? Well, some clues as to what may be going on. Stay with us.
17 Weather is brought to you by your California Jeep dealers.
Of course, it's a little-known fact that 25 years ago, George has barely escaped from New York on a Greyhound bus and got out here, but we're glad to have him with us.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
It's a jungle in New York as well.
Literally and figuratively.
We're glad you're here.
And it's changed his life immensely, too. So.
Yeah, I spent some time on Greyhound buses, but that's a long time ago.
Wasn't that a great
Traveling
story,
around the country, indeed. Hot stuff today. Big time changes on the way tomorrow. Let's jump right into it. We're talking about big changes. I mean, really big.
Wow.
Really big?
Cool.
Really big. So big that we're going to spend a lot of time on this shot just talking about how immense
we may have
the
a
actual
lockup here.
changes
Go to the
are.
graphic if you want.
Okay, well, I could walk away, but that might be seen as
can
kind
just
of rude.